Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this Netflix review. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. For those of you that are unaware, I review everything that gets released on Netflix. So if you're ever curious about whether something is good, bad, or completely mediocre, come to my channel and I will let you know. So subscribe if you haven't yet, because I want to become your go-to Netflix guy. And today we're going to be talking about Nightbooks, which is ultimately about a little boy who gets kidnapped by a witch and is basically told, you write me a story, a horror story, every single day, otherwise you die. Simple as that, and it's about this boy writing his stories and trying to escape. It's a very simple plot. I promised I wouldn't say that word simple again. I said it like 24 times in my other review of Pig, which you can watch up above. But this was definitely a horror film aimed for a younger audience. I'd say from about 10 to 12, maybe 14. It's definitely made in the same vein as like Stories We Tell in the Dark, or basically any other horror series or show aimed for a younger audience. It's got horror elements in it, but it isn't necessarily scary. And ultimately that's where it is. Is this going to appeal to older fans of horror? I don't think so. It's a very immature form of horror. It doesn't feel like there's consequences. We don't see any results of any actions, if you know what I mean. We believe that these characters are somewhat safe. Throughout the whole film, we never actually witness something negative happen to someone. We're only ever told stories about it. And so I think that's the biggest letdown of this film. It's the lack of consequences. We never believe that anything bad will happen to these characters because they still feel somewhat safe, even though they are in this incredibly hazardous environment. And that comes with the territory of making films for 10 to 14-year-olds. We have to make sure that, like, children are watching this. We can't actually terrify children. We're not evil. But yeah, I definitely think that's the difference between this film, which is a horror film made for children, and generally something that you can watch that terrifies you. Like, for example, last night I watched The Night House. I literally was terrified. I was petrified. I watched it in the cinema and I literally wanted to leave. That's how scary it was. Whereas this film, I just sat there going, cool, okay. Oh, that was supposed. If I was 14, maybe that would have been scary. So there's definitely a targeted demographic with this film. So I would straight off the bat say, if you are a hardcore horror fan who loves like just violence and like ghosts and demons and just all the spookiest, scariest stuff, I feel like you're gonna be left wanting with this movie. With that being said though, this is not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. What stood out for me the most was primarily the sets. This entire film takes place within the witch's house and it looks amazing. It's so incredibly detailed, and it's escapism in its rawest form. When you actually see the sets, when it's the witch's library, or she has this like little private garden where she grows all of her vegetables. Sets like that are incredible. It's a perfect form of escapism, really. It's unlike anything you'll see in your day-to-day life because it has this element of magic about it. It really is just incredible to watch. This is a very, very pretty film. The set is absolutely immaculate. And we also get some really cool, dramatic, engaging costumes, especially when it comes to the evil witch of the story. She looks great and she's very captivating. And I think as well, the actors did their best to bring the characters to life in this movie. While I would say the characters aren't necessarily anything to write home about, I mean, they're serviceable, they're vehicles for the plot. So they're not like larger than life. We don't really need to engage with them too much. They're just there to push the narrative. We can still engage with the characters enough in an organic enough way to want to watch them succeed. I would definitely say the actors did their job bringing the script to life. So at the end of the day, I'm really finding myself at a loss for words. I don't know what else I can say about this movie. Characters were decent. They got the script across. The actors did their jobs. They were engaging. The set design was honestly the highlight of the film for me. It was phenomenal. The horror elements were definitely aimed for a younger audience. Those are the four main points I could see. So ultimately, who would I recommend this film to? I definitely recommend this film to fans of die-hard horror. There's a lot of love in the horror sphere of things within this movie. You can tell that whoever made this movie definitely had a love for horror, and they were trying to pay homage to the earlier horror stories that we know of. I mean, they talk about the Grimm brothers quite a bit. And so there's definitely an element of love for horror within this film. It's just in a film that most horror fans might not actually enjoy. But guys, thank you so much for watching this review. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and I hope to see you again in another review.